What's going on, everybody? Mortem here, this time bringing you my highlights from the Xbox Bethesda showcase at the Summer Game Fest. Sunday, yesterday, was the big PC gaming portion of that show, and as such, Xbox and Bethesda had a showcase highlighting all sorts of games, and I want to cover the highlights from that. Now, if you're looking for every announcement that was made, I'll try to post some articles down below. That way you can see everything that was announced, but in this video, we're just going to cover the things that I thought were particularly interesting, and that I'll be, of course, likely to cover on the channel. So, two things I want to mention right at the start. Obviously, Starfield is on this list, but I think it's incredibly telling that we did not see anything at all about Avowed, which is the upcoming sort of first-person action-adventure game that takes place in Eora, the world of Pillars of Eternity. And I think it's worth mentioning that its absence was very notable, but we'll talk about that in a separate video. So, jumping into the most obvious one, Starfield. Obviously kind of the headliner of the event, if you will. Starfield saw its official gameplay reveal in which we saw all sorts of things. Now, broad opinion, the combat looks okay. It didn't really blow me away, but this is something that's supposed to be more RPG focused anyway, so the gunplay, etc. wasn't exactly something I was going to expect to blow my mind anyway. The rest of it, however, I thought looked very promising. They showed off things like character creation, the actual world, conversations with NPCs. For starters, I think the game is a very big graphical and probably technical leap for Bethesda, who has often released games that looked a bit outdated but were carried often by their mechanics. This game, however, aims to be a bit more sharp in that regard, it would appear. But also, this is apparently a game aiming to do a lot of things. So the atmosphere and everything look very cool. It looks like they're building a pretty awesome world, at least the handcrafted portions of it, but more on that in a second. We also got to see systems like advancement, which will be a bit focused on RPG skills that will allow you to make an actual character. This combined with the return of traits, which is like a positive for a negative thing at character creation. There will also be ship combat. You'll be able to craft your own spaceship in addition to regular crafting. You'll also be able to visually customize your ship, which seems very in-depth. There will also be the ability to build an outpost, which is like settlement building. So it really looks like they're aiming to cram every feature they could into this game, which honestly is pretty intriguing. However, they did end on one note that has me a little concerned. When talking about the size of the game, they mentioned that there will be over 100 star systems with over 1,000 explorable planets. And while that sounds good, that means that a lot of them are likely procedurally generated to some degree, which means that quite frankly, the ones that saw less personal developer attention are likely going to be empty and boring. So kind of a weird selling point for them to mention in this reveal. But combat and the potential procedural generation stuff aside, I think the rest of it looks very cool, a lot more here than I was expecting. So I'm looking forward to it. Moving on from there, we have the Diablo 4 reveal, or the gameplay update, if you will. This covered a lot of the systems and things that we've seen in previous updates about this title, but it's just showing everything refined. They're taking official signups for beta, and they are likely to release in early next year, as most of the games on this list are slated for 2023, by the way. But while what they showed of D4 looked good, quite frankly, I am on the fence about it, and this is because Blizzard has mismanaged the Diablo franchise, in my opinion, to a very great degree. Diablo 3 was, I think, honestly, a pretty good game, but I don't think it's what most of the people who really enjoyed Diablo 2 and its predecessor, the original Diablo, were really expecting. So Diablo 4 is aiming to be a more return to form, which sounds good, but then we got Diablo Immortal, which was just a overly monetized hellscape, pun intended. And quite frankly, Blizzard has lost my trust when it comes to Diablo, and then it has been confirmed that there will be a shop in Diablo 4. Now, as of right now, this is apparently only going to be purely cosmetic, with the aim of helping fund the development of things like seasons and the in-game continuing on after its release, which on paper I'm okay with, but as I just mentioned, Blizzard has lost my trust in this regard, and until I see some, results, I suppose, I just don't have too much more to say about this. I hope it turns out well. I love the Diablo franchise, it's important to me, but I just don't have a lot of faith in Blizzard with it at this point. Now, next up we have Redfall. This is, of course, the game from Arcane Studios about the vampires and the co-op shooter. Just kind of a quick one here. I thought the world and the atmosphere were really cool. The setting looks very interesting. However, I would tell you the gameplay, in my opinion, looked incredibly generic. Like, I've seen this type of game a million times. Fourth on our list, we have a very interesting title that kind of came out of nowhere, in my opinion, and that is, I believe it's called High on Life, where we're going to be playing a character using weapons that talk to you and look goofy, and this whole game just has a very comedic vibe to it. Like, that was the point. Apparently, the creators of Rick and Morty are involved. It looks hilarious and very unique, and I'm all about it. I'd love to see more of this one. Fifth on our list, we have Pentiment. This is the game that was in the works with Josh Sawyer. I don't know exactly what his role is. I believe it's director on this, but this is apparently a passion project of sorts, in my opinion, as it is a narrative game from Obsidian that revolves around sort of medieval history, if you will, which if you follow Josh Sawyer on Twitter, he is all about. So again, this just strikes me as a passion project, and I enjoy a good narrative game, so I don't think this is a title that's going to get a lot of people very excited, but nonetheless, I think it has the potential to be pretty cool, but because it's a narrative game, I wouldn't expect it to blow up, quite frankly. And then last on our list, we have Wo Long, Fallen Dynasties. Don't have a lot to go on here, but this one just honestly looked pretty interesting, so I thought I'd mention it. It aims to mix Chinese history with sort of supernatural elements, and there seems to be a lot of combat and stuff. So again, just looks very interesting, but I don't have enough information to really give much more of an opinion than that. It looks cool, and I'll be following its development to see how it turns out. But that is going to do it for today's highlights of the Xbox Bethesda showcase. So again, obviously Starfield is the big news here. I will likely have a video talking about what the state of things is with Avowed here before too long. And then at some point I'll likely make a more in-depth video about everything we know about Starfield and just kind of a deeper dive into its systems, if you will. At least that's what I have planned currently. All of that said, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, let me know down below all of what you think about these particular games, as well as any other game announced at the showcase. Feel free to mention those as well. But regardless of any of that, truly, just thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. May you wander in wisdom and have an amazing day.